Welcome back to Cask and Point. Today we're going to be trying Stagg Jr finished in honey. So a few weeks ago I tried each Taylor small batch finished in honey and it was really good. And I thought it was an incredible improvement upon each Taylor small batch, which is a product that I don't typically care a lot for, but with the honey finish it really brought out a lot more flavor in that whiskey, and so I really did like it. But when I found out my buddy of mine named Jacob was making a Stagg honey finish, I was much more skeptical because I really like Stagg Jr, if you didn't know. I've done many reviews on Staggs before. In fact, I did a review just last week where I tried all the 2024 batches, although it may have been 2 or 3 weeks since I posted that video by the time you guys are seeing this video. But I love Stagg Jr, and so when I found out honey finished Stagg Jr, I want to really know, is this actually better than Stagg Jr? And so what my buddy did is he took a 5-liter barrel, he aged honey in it in some nice Florida sun for about 5 weeks. He then drained the barrel, he then put a case of Stagg Jr 24A, which was actually my favorite batch of 2024, marginally beating out 24B. And he also mixed in, I think, 2 or 3 Stagg Jr store picks into the mix. It's just to fill the barrel, and then he made about 8 to 10 bottles of this whiskey. And he was kind enough to send me a sample, so thank you so much, Jacob. Very, very grateful. And he even put the logo that he had put on the bottle onto the sample jar, which is always a nice touch that I really appreciate. So we're going to find out, is Stagg Jr truly better finished in honey? And it was finished in honey for 8 days, which isn't particularly long, but it's definitely enough that you can really get that honey. I will note, while the each Taylor small batch looked like there was honey in it, this does have a consistency that looks a little bit more like a fluid, which is good, which makes me think maybe this honey isn't super overpowering, but 24A is already a batch that had a lot of honey and vanilla on it, which is what made me really like it. So let's try this and see if it's any good. And the nose here, it smells like honey. There's definitely a good amount of vanilla on this, and there is some cherry really peeking through this, which I really like. There's a nice sweet oak on it, which I think may just be the normal Stagg oak, but there's enough vanilla on it that it's kind of blending together into the sweet oak note that I really like. Overall, it smells nice. It does smell like a Stagg Jr with extra honey. Honey, vanilla. Wow, this is nice. This is really nice. Let's try it. That's interesting. So, as is typical with these honey finishes, immediately in the mouth, you just get a slew of sweetness because there is probably some actual honey in this, and it turns out honey is so much sweeter than anything whiskey related. As much as we can try to make really sweet bourbon, there are no calories in bourbon beyond the alcohol. There's only so much sweetness that oak can impart into a whiskey. Honey can impart sweetness a lot easier. And so there is a nice flash of sweetness that is obviously going to be very unique as to anything you drink, no matter how sweet, just because a little bit of actual honey is likely in this whiskey, which is also probably bringing the proof down a little bit. Stagg Jr 24A is 127.6 proof. And so I expect this is probably closer to like 124, 125, just because there's probably a little bit of honey in it, but that little bit of honey does make a good difference. And I will note, there are some particles floating around in this, which is also pretty cool. I mean, I don't mind a little barrel char every now and then, but this is good. Definitely that flash of honey and vanilla in the beginning, and then it really did go into a nice Stagg punch, which is definitely ameliorating my issues and my worries with this, which is that I thought it would just overpower all that good Stagg, but it's definitely giving me enough Stagg here that I'm not offended by it. Just let's take a second sip here and see. Okay, so over time, I think the Stagg is really coming out even more, which I do like. The second it touches your tongue, you're just getting a nice flash of honey sweetness on it, which is good. And then it kind of eases up a little bit. And then it gives you the good old Stagg cherry and oak and a little bit of baking spice towards the end and a little bit of pepper. So really, it's like a Stagg Jr that just starts off in the front palate with a ton of honey. Now, is that better than what I recall Stagg 24A being? It's close. I really do like Stagg 24A. This is really bringing out one of the elements that I thought already existed in Stagg 24A. This is nice. Let's take a third sip here. Let's give it a rating. Yeah, I think for a honey finish, probably the best one I had. And that's probably just because the base whiskey is just better than anything I've had. Honey finishing Stagg is bold. I really like Stagg, and Stagg punches, but honestly, I really like how that extra proof on Stagg is really cutting through the honey, and so I don't think this is overpowering with that honey. However, the sweetness that I get off that honey in the very beginning, it's almost too sweet because it does taste a little bit unnatural in regards to bourbon. It's actually a very natural, sweet tasting honey, and I just don't know if I like it more than Stagg 24A. I will take this final little bit with you guys. It's definitely really close. I think it's neck and neck with 24A. I just really like my bourbon for the sake that it's bourbon, but this is also really good. Let's take a final sip here. Okay, I think it's a little bit better. I'm gonna rate this an 8.2. I rated Stagg 24A an 8.1. I think this is marginally better because I think it really just brings out one of the flavors, but I still get enough vanilla, cherry, and oak on this, and the baking spice towards the end, where I think the biggest difference between 24A and this is that it took away some of the baking spice that I would typically get on that batch, and instead gave me a lot more honey. And I do like honey. But I will say, was it worth all the effort? I think if you really like honey and you're just a big honey fan, and I imagine Jacob had a lot of fun doing this, totally worth it. Would I run out and do this with a Stagg Jr batch myself? I probably wouldn't. I don't think the difference is great enough, but it's still really, really good. A great job to Jacob. Congratulations. I know he was very worried that I would be roasting his finish here on the channel, but no, I think he did a mighty fine job. I'm just not the biggest finish guy, and I really like Stagg, so the bar was really, really high, but honestly, the fact that this was better than 24A to me does mean a lot. So anyways, I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all learned something. I think these finishes, something to play around with. Let me know down below in the comments if you guys have ever played around with finishes yourself, if you had honey finishes, if you like them, and I'll catch you guys all in the next one.